All right, I said in the last video I was going to touch on some of the stuff that we use to clean these guns that are basically firearms cleaning brushes and tools. This is probably one of the most important. This is a chamber cleaning brush for 9mm. It has an extremely rigid nylon bristle, so it will clean without scratching. This brush really excels when you're cleaning the housing for your side seal and check valve. That will let you get in here and clean that. On the A side especially, this will help remove the residue from right here. This is where your side seal O-ring sits. So you want to get rid of any A-side residue out of that, and this brush has the right amount of tension to help you do that and make sure that that is completely clean. The other thing that we do use, another firearms brush, this is what comes with a Glock pistol. Every one of them is the same. They just give you this big nylon brush with a plastic rod, brass ring. This typically will not scratch or mar your surfaces. This excels in cleaning this. It will fit through where your mixing chamber slides back and forth. So that works very well. The groove for your mixing chamber, this is just a standard gun cleaning toothbrush. That can be used in here as well. Because this part is stainless steel, it will start to cut its own groove into the brush, which will allow it to get into the sides and corners. Other than that, we have a dental pick, and we use a steel bristle. This is very useful with your side seal. If you have some residue on here while you're cleaning, you'll be able to get that off. We did clean a gun that was functioning properly, so the cleaning did not take as long as it would have had we had a gun malfunction. One of the other things to be extremely cognizant of when you're cleaning, this is our mixing chamber. With every mixing chamber, you will get a drill bit, which is for the front. When you run that drill bit through, you need to be able to see through this hole that drill is all the way in and turning, and then pull it out. That will remove that. Even though the gun was functioning properly, A side will build up in the port of the mixing chamber. So you'll have to run a drill through there and get that clean. One of the things you guys need to also be cognizant of is that this hole is not drilled straight through. This is drilled on an angle. The holes are offset. So when the drill goes through, you need to make sure that it comes out the other side. And when you look at this, you can actually see, does that show how crooked that is there, Bob? How much of an offset there is? Okay, so you're not running your drill straight in. It is on an angle. So if you understand that, it'll be easier to clean this as well. As I mentioned before, brake clean is your friend when you're doing these things. Safety glasses, you'll be able to shoot brake clean with the red straw through here, and it will flush out these two ports. Screens have been cleaned also with the brush. One of the things I do is I clean them after flushing. I clean them with gun cleaner or glycol ether. You're able to take this screen, slide it down onto the brush like that by hand. If you turn the brush over, you can push it right through, and that will clean the inside of your screen. Try not to deform them too much. They will go back into place when you put it on the housing. You can also start it from this side and push it off that side. It really doesn't matter. So all residue and chemicals have been removed from the gun. And the most important thing when putting this together is grease. You always want to use your Graco Fusion grease. It will help it go together easier. It will make disassembly a lot easier. So we're going to start with assembling. We'll do the A side here first. I like to do it in sections. So we have our check valve, our housing, our spring, our side seal, and our side seal O-ring. These 5 pieces will then thread into here. So let's put that together. Common mistake everybody makes is they get ahead of themselves. They forget to put the spring in, and then they put the side seal in. That becomes difficult to get out without the spring pushing it to where it needs to be. So it's always a good practice to line up your parts and know the exact order that they're going in, and then assemble them. So A side, like I mentioned before, you will get a residue around here, which makes it difficult to remove from here. When it's clean, that's the way it goes together. Very simple. When the gun comes out of service, that's when you need to use that socket, put it over here, and pop this out, like we mentioned in the previous video. We will apply a sparing amount of grease to this. And then what I do is I just put that in and rotate it. That's fine. Drop your spring in next. There is no up or down on the spring. The spring goes in, it does not matter. The next thing you guys need to do is put your side seal O-ring on your side seal. There is a right and wrong way to do this. When you look at your side seal, the back of the side seal has a radius on it. The front of the side seal is a precision machine surface, and this is razor sharp. If you try to put your O-ring on from this side, you will nick it, and when you install it, it will be broken and you won't know it. So you always want to put your O-ring on from the back side. It also helps to use grease on this. Put a little bit on your finger, rub it around, and then you lightly grease your O-ring. This can be tricky to put on, but it's not really that bad. You're going to get a side of it started, and then you're just going to work that right around. Like I said, you want a film of grease. You don't want a lot of grease, you want a film of grease. So we have grease on our side seal O-ring. It's in place. We know that it's not nicked or scratched. We did it the right way. What we're then going to do, again with the grease, very little. We're going to put a little bit of that on the chamfer of this housing. Now, as I mentioned before, the nut driver that Graco provides you when you purchase a gun is a great tool to install this. As you can see, it doesn't drop right in because we need to compress the O-ring. The way we're going to do that is we're going to put the nut driver over the side seal, and we're going to gently work it around. That's it. That's all it took. It's in. The O-ring is seated. What you don't want to do not push this down to compress the spring. The springs are finicky. The spring will take a set, and it will affect the tension on the side of the mixing chamber, which we've learned will really mess up your pattern. So all you want to do is get that in. When you assemble the gun, it's going to seat itself to where it wants to be. Staying with the same part, this you can apply grease more liberally. You're going to finger that around into the threads. That check valve spring is going to go into that hole. And if you're like me and you're worried that you didn't get it lined up right and it might not be incorrectly, you will be able to see that spring on the other side. That's why I like to put this in first. With the grease, it's going to thread in really nice. I felt it click, which means it jumped into that hole. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but we can now see the tail of that spring in that hole. Does that show up, Bob? That you can actually see the spring in there? Probably not. We'll probably need a backlight. But you can visually see this when you're doing it, guys. So that's your telltale that it's correct. Staying with the same part, 1/2 inch wrench. Graco says a maximum of 1/4 turn on this. It's aluminum. This is stainless steel. You will strip the aluminum if you make these too tight. You'll ruin your part and you'll have to buy a new one. With the wrench, this is a hand thing. You're just holding it. That's 0. There's not applying any pressure. So you can see where your flats are. You just pick a reference point and give it a little more. That was about 1/8 of a turn. I'm very comfortable with that it's not too tight, not too loose, and we won't damage our part. The other thing I like to do now that we are almost wrapped up with this, we'll put our screen in, and then this residual grease is not a problem. You want that. That can just get fingered out around there. Now you have a nice film of grease on there. Also, this is A side. You do want grease. You don't want grease in here where your screen is going to go. You want grease on the threads. So you can put your bottle on a little bit of an angle, your tube, and you can put a little bit. Halfway around is plenty. So you can see the excess fell off here. You just take your finger and run that into the threads. That's where we want to be with that. When I put the screen on, I like to put the seam of the screen on one of these, I'll call it a pillar. That way that weld, that solder joint is not going to affect the flow of the screen. This is greased. This is ready to go back into our block. That felt good. We can just get rid of that. Give that a little turn. If this leaks, you can always make it a little tighter. If you make it too tight right off the bat and ruin the threads, you're done for the day. So it's always better to err on the side of caution here. Don't make it too tight. I'm going to assemble the other side off camera, but before I do that, I want to stress one thing to you guys. The parts have been cleaned and evaluated, and when I say cleaned and evaluated, we look for any damage to the threads. We look for any scratches in the housing of where our check valve and O-ring are going to ride. And we've all heard the saying that it's what's on the inside that counts. This is the only time in life that that is true. The outside of the gun can have residues on it. It does not affect the function of the gun. The internals, however, need to be exceptionally clean. So I will assemble the other side off camera to save time, and then we will put the gun back together as a whole.